many outside influences in our lives that impact the choices we make. The choices we make are a huge part of our lives because they impact future choices we make and ultimately who we end up being. Today we're going to talk about a huge outside influence that impacts many of the choices we make. School. School is a common stressor that impacts our choices because most kids and adolescents have to go through it. Some things that make school stressful are extracurriculars, lack of sleep, procrastination, social situations and fitting in, going to school with mental disorders, negative student-teacher interactions, pressure to maintain grades, and parental stress. One very stressful part of school for many people is the social aspect of it. Along with having to succeed academically, there's a pressure to fit in with a group or a group of friends because you see that group of people so regularly. Because of this, people are willing to make extreme choices to be able to fit in.
During high school, you're going to meet a lot of new people and make a lot of new friends. The problem with this is finding a good balance between your social life and school. School should always come first and be the priority. Before going out, you should make sure that all of your assignments are done and that you are prepared for your next class. This will also relieve a lot of stress if you don't have to worry about assignments during your free time. Throughout high school, you're going to find yourself in some new situations that will probably include peer pressure. When confronted with something that you are not comfortable with, it is important to not give in to pressure. Just because someone says it's okay doesn't make it the right thing to do. The same goes for if someone else is doing it. It doesn't give you an excuse to do it too.
Extracurriculars are a big part of education, and as you get older, it becomes harder and harder to balance your social life, academic life, and extracurriculars. This leads you to make choices about which activities you prefer to do in order to keep your social, academic, and extracurricular life in check.
It is very important for students to participate in activities outside the classroom, and that's why so many benefit from extracurriculars. But balancing extracurriculars with schoolwork can be difficult. A good way to do this is to limit the amount of extracurriculars you participate in. If you give yourself too much work to do, it can cause stress and affect your social life inside and outside of school.
Bad study habits and study skills also affect the choices we make, because if we wait till the last minute to do a project or study for a test, that limits the choices we have to do other things, such as go to sports practice or spend time with friends.
Procrastination is another major problem that affects most students. To help get assignments done faster, you can set deadlines for yourself so that you're not doing projects last minute. Another way to help against procrastinating is to leave your phone alone. While doing an assignment, turn it off or put it in another room. This will help against getting distracted.
There's also pressure to keep your grades up, especially for kids who have academic scholarships. If you don't keep your grades up, you might risk the chance of losing that scholarship and costing your parents a lot of money. Therefore, keeping your grades up, especially in some cases, can be really important.
Maintaining your grades is the most important part of school. To help do this, you have to remember to stay organized, don't procrastinate, and work hard in all of your classes. If your grades start to drop, it can add extra stress when you don't need it. If you are struggling in a class, talk to the teacher and ask if you could add any extra work or make up a test.
Being successful in school, academically and socially, is already hard enough as is, but it can be even harder if you come in with a mental disorder. For example, learning disorder can make it harder to learn new material and put you behind your peers as far as keeping up.
Mental disorders are something that we don't really talk about when we actually should. For students with mental disorders, it is a lot more difficult to go through school and classes. If you have a mental disorder, it is important to notify your teacher about it. By doing this, they will be able to adjust their teaching style to make it less difficult for you.
Scientifically, sleep is just as important as getting sufficient nutrients and water. So if you lack sleep, it can greatly impair your school experience. Studies show that kids who don't sleep as much do worse on tests and quizzes and in classes.
One of the most common problems with students these days is not getting enough sleep. This can be caused by waiting last minute to do an assignment or staying up late on your phone or laptop. To help get to sleep faster, you can leave all electronics in another room so that they won't distract you. You can also make sure you do your homework before a certain time so that it doesn't affect your sleeping pattern.
Teachers are obviously also a large part of your learning experience, so it can be really tricky if there's a teacher you either have trouble learning from for whatever reason or just don't get along with, because then you don't feel comfortable talking to them during class or asking for help, which can really impact you.
When taking a class with a teacher that you don't really like that much, it is important to keep trying in that class. An easy excuse is to just blame the teacher, which would make you come across as lazy. If you don't like the teacher because you think they aren't challenging you enough, then you can talk to a counselor or somebody who works at the school and ask if you can change classes.
Another thing that we often don't think plays a large role in school, but really does, is our parents or guardians. They can really put stress on us to succeed, which can be very helpful because sometimes it pushes us to do our best, but can also be very stressful and anxiety provoking.
Parents are a part of your home life and your school life, so they're going to know if you're struggling in a class. An easy way to avoid arguments is to just be honest with them. Keep them up to date on assignments and tests, and ask for help when you need it. This also goes for when you go out. It is important to tell them everything that's going on. In conclusion, school is always going to be difficult, but there are ways to make it better. Getting work done on time, staying organized, and being honest are just a few ways to avoid unwanted and unnecessary stress. You have to remember that there's always help if you need it, whether it be teachers, family, or friends.